Craziest thing we've ever done, you guys. This is absolutely nuts.
Flight 527 ready for departure.
He was a healer. He was a medicine. Whoa! For the past year, if you've been following along, I've been hunting for some of the most rare and unique apple varieties the world has ever seen. Some of these varieties have been lost for potentially hundreds of years. And in my journeys, I've realized that there is very few places that haven't been discovered. When it comes to apple varieties, they are spread far and wide. They're on almost every continent in the world. But there are very few places close to home where I can find these unique and heritage varieties that some have been potentially lost for hundreds of years. That was until I discovered Beaver Island. For today's episode, gotta fill up the car because we're going on a trip. And to be honest, we're going on a little more than a trip. We're going on probably one of the craziest adventures we'll ever go on. Let's go. Oh my gosh. Ooh. We are kind of here. Oh. That was a long car ride. That was a really long car ride. But we're here. We got to stay the night. And the morning, we're taking the plane. Now, we're going to jump into kind of geography lesson. So Beaver Island is an island that was left when the glaciers scraped through and left behind essentially Lake Michigan. And what was left behind was basically a high point that was above water. And the incredible thing is that it is so far from every point of mainland. In fact, that is actually what led us on this journey. It's actually one of the most remote inland islands in the entire world. It is over 32 miles from any point in the mainland. And you're not going to find that anywhere else in the entire world, meaning it's one of the most remote inland islands in the entire world. So Beaver Island was established over 300 years ago by the Ojibwe Indians, and they established the island as a primary trade route to hunt beavers for beaver pelts with the French. And for over 300 years, they lived on the island and traded with the French, and as well as used it as a trade route for alcohol, which was at the time kind of an important commodity between the two cultures. And then about 300 years later, a gentleman named James Strange, who was actually part of the Mormon church, decided to take him and a group of people away to colonize an island. They were facing persecution, and they moved to the island, him and this large group of people, and they settled the island in the mid-1800s. That was the first time that the island had actually been colonized by someone other than the Native American Indians. When James Strange came to the island, he established himself as the Mormon king, believe it or not. And upon colonizing the island, they brought with them apple trees and everything they would need to essentially be a self-sufficient nation. The island itself still has many of the same descendants that lived there, for the past 150 to 200 years. Quick biology crash course on why Beaver Island is so important to us as apple hunters. Beaver Island is about 32 miles away from any point of mainland. That means it is too far away for a bird to fly and drop seed, or a deer to swim and bring seeds in the belly, or for a bee to fly from the mainland and pollinate trees from the mainland to the island. Meaning that whether it was the Ojibwe Indians, the French traders, or even the Mormons that came 250 years ago bringing apples to the island, you have essentially a certain group of apples that have been forced to essentially crossbreed with themselves and themselves only. And because there is geographical isolation, you have what is called genetic drift. Now, genetic drift happens when there is geographic isolation. If you were to take a group of animals and isolate them completely separate from the other grouping of animals that could, have essentially a lot of commingling, you will have genetic drift, which is slight mutations or changes to that environment or to the gene pool that is available, and they will over time begin to look very different from the other groups that they used to be from. A prime example of this is actually the Galapagos Islands. When there was a study done of the Galapagos Islands, they found over 100 varieties of finches on the island that are completely different biologically to finches on the mainland. And when you look at the finches, their beaks were slightly different, their environmental differences were slightly different, so they adapted to those environmental differences so that they still are finches, but they look dramatically different than all the other finches on the mainland. And this is the same thing that is going to happen with these apples, is they're not able to crossbreed with all the other apples from the mainland, so any apple that is there will look like an apple to us, but biologically it will be vastly different than all the other apples we've come to know with today's modern apples. It is essentially our look into an apple variety that has been adapting on an island, crossbreeding with itself and all the other apples that were brought to that island for over 250 years. And that genetic drift is so biologically significant to us as apple hunters because we are going to have incredibly unique apples that we can then take cuttings from, plant on the farm, and use as research as well as taking graftings to help to expand our current gene pool on the farm. Absolutely incredible, and that is why we're here, and that's why we're traveling to Beaver Island. Good morning. Ready to go?
Yep.
Let's get it. I didn't have my lucky apple this morning, so I'm hoping that's just a hoping that's just a formality. I got bags. I can't take all the bags. I've got 120.
Okay.
I got 120 bags. Hey, how's it going? Austin, right? I'm guessing we're the only ones crazy enough to be taking a cooler and a bunch of random stuff. For context, since this all happened so quickly, we were at the airport to meet up with a journalist named Austin. He was going to be covering the story on apples, and all of us were going to fly out to meet up with our guide, a fellow apple enthusiast named Jeremy Van Slice. I don't know if on the scale of nervous or excited where I lie. If it's any consolation, I'm like as equally excited as I am equally nervous. So I guess it kind of maybe balances out. Maybe I'm right in the middle. This is crazy. This is probably the craziest thing we've ever done, you guys. This is this is absolutely nuts. Up. All right, here you go.
Slightly nervous.
2 wheels on the ground. Feels pretty nice, actually. I can take my diaper off now. Oh, it feels so good. I will say, okay, acting cool now, that was terrifying. I can see why this will be a once in a lifetime opportunity because I don't think I will ever do that again. Hey,
Jeremy,
how's it going? Nice to meet you.
Good. Exciting. I got some cool stuff lined up.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome.
Some interesting people today and get a little tour.
Yeah. Hey, you fit the part, man. I love it.
Yeah,
you look like you're ready to go.
Ready to roll. This is our rig right here.
Okay. Super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did a lot of legwork. I got two historians that we're gonna start our day. We're gonna meet a guy at 10.
Okay.
He's got about an hour and a half to take us to some cool trees, and then at noon when he goes to work, Bud Martin, who's an old timer on the island, is going to take us to his personal property.
Okay.
And it's pretty. The history. This guy's grandfather was here in 1860. He was a commercial fisherman.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Here's why these are so crazy important. Like I kind of said, so there's no connection to the mainland, only by 32 miles of water. And biologically, you have what's called geographic isolation. If you leave something there long enough, completely removed from the mainland, from the rest of the population, it won't have the same traits after a certain time.
Okay.
So where these will look like apples, they will taste like apples, but genetically, they will have changed so much that they will be completely different than all the other apples. Yeah, I see.
I see the big ones back in there.
Oh, wow, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Here.
Oh my goodness.
This is just the beginning. Like all this ditch, both sides are just.
Holy cow, yeah.
apple
Oh my
trees.
gosh, those are gorgeous.
A lot of them planted orchards. And the Irish, when they came, they legit brought seeds. So
Yeah.
who knows? Like, that's the whole isolation, genetic isolation. But how old those seeds were brought here from Ireland? Or,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, like these.
Yeah, I mean,
This
it's just,
doesn't. I mean, everything is an apple tree. Everything. Literally everything is an apple tree. It's this is the craziest
wait till
thing.
you get out of Slob Town, you're gonna be in heaven.
Dude, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Our huge mission is to like highlight, the cultural significance of Beaver Island, but also to like just bring awareness, because the fact of the matter is there's so much room for possibility and business and like tourism and I imagine comparatively Beaver Island versus Mackinac Island. I mean,
Yeah.
I know Beaver Island gets busy in the summer, but comparatively, I mean it's probably a magnitude of 100 times less
Yeah,
people.
for sure. Buddy works for the DNR and studied birds here, and he told me about like you have to go there. It's just like there's apple forests, and it's just nobody's ever made a Beaver Island cider. No one's doing that. And
Yeah.
so then I just kind of obsessed about it from there. And so 7 years ago, my buddy and I made our first trip in an Astrovan, and we stayed. We slept in the Astrovan. We actually slept in that cemetery by the rectory. And we were soaking wet the whole time, but we picked apples morning to night and then shipped them off the island. And that's how we made the first Beaver Island cider.
After meeting up with Jeremy around 10 o'clock, he took us to meet up with our first guide to take us around the island. I talked to people because we're from downstate, and they said, "Where's Beaver Island? Why are you going to Beaver Island? What's it like?" No, there's not many people that know that much about it, and so we're just kind of building that story around the trees, Beaver Island, the history surrounding Beaver Island, and then tying all that together. So yeah.
Cool. Some of these Irish families who emigrated here in the 1850s and 60s brought with them rose hips from Ireland because they were easy to transport, and also because they were a food source. Some of those farms went back to the 1840s when there was a Mormon community here, a breakaway Mormon sect. So much of the island, probably 40% of it, was cleared for farming. And then by 1900, probably 50 to 60% of it was cleared for farming.
Wow.
After the Irish had been here a couple generations. So this is the island course, and we're in the harbor right now. We're right around here. A lot of the brown and yellow areas would have been cleared in the north half of the island by 1900. So that's the extent of the agriculture that was going on here. And every one of those farms had an apple orchard.
I'm looking for a big X for us to dig somewhere. Just
right.
this is it reminds me of like all it just needs is some burnt edges, and it would basically be a childhood treasure map. Like Tom Macaulay, Hannigan, like this paid Enogs. That's got to be
yeah.
that's got to be Ojibwe, right?
No, it's Irish. It's
Irish?
Yeah, one of my ancestors.
That's one of your ancestors. No way.
Yeah, he is the patriarch to over 6,000 people.
There's a type of apple variety that is known as a limber twig, and this would be of a limber twig variety. There are potentially hundreds of varieties of limber twig, but what indicates a limber twig is when the branches don't get very tall they go out, they droop down, and then they start to come back up. And you get that really signature curved branch, like this right here, the drooping, the cascading. It's of a limber twig variety. So it is a very good, almost all the limber twig varieties are, they call them dessert apples. A couple really important things, because obviously out of respect for the island, super important when we're talking about geographically isolated areas. Prime example would be like New Zealand or Australia. You have these very isolated regions of the world, and you can very easily bring in hitchhikers or potentially foreign hitchhikers, right? Whether it be fungus, bacteria, invasive species, seeds, anything like that. So I've gone ahead, I have held these pruners over top of a flame for 3 minutes. Both Cindy's and mine have been sanitized. Then on top of that, I went one step further. I rubbed them down with isopropyl alcohol before we arrived. And I also took our boots, scrubbed them off with soapy water, so there's no soil, any foreign debris, anything like that. I understand that people do come on this island all the time. It is a very, it's a very lived on island, but I'm still doing our part to not bring in hitchhikers to the island, especially taking cuttings from apple trees, because these are very culturally significant, and it just comes down to the respect for the people on the island as well as the trees on the island.
So there were a lot of farms here. There were a lot of farms here.
Barney. It's a good apple name. Barney. And just when everything was going great, disaster strikes. I'm sure we have enough people we could push.
Yeah, we might.
He's going backwards, right?
Yeah.
In reverse.
Yeah.
All right, you gotta clear out. Yeah. Oh yeah.
He is going to come. I don't think the 4-wheel's working.
That thing right.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy. Always down for
He's a stunt driver for Universal Studios.
Oh wow. That was a good.
Good driving, Rob.
What are the health capabilities on the island? I just saw a health center.
Yeah, we have a clinic here that is staffed by 2 to 3 nurse practitioners, 1 to 2 visiting doctors, and possibly a new resident doctor, but I'm not sure about the last part. But it serves us fairly well. It doesn't, do surgery or anything like that.
When you wouldn't need any doctors if everyone shaved an apple, right?
Right.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Say it again.
So in these woods, you will see withered apple trees.
Yeah.
You can see them on the roadside, but if you go back further, you'll see more of them. And again, originally planted and then just transplanted themselves over the years. There would have been dozens of farms on the island. The Mormons had a fairly large population, possibly as many as 2,000 by the 1850s, but we're not sure about that. That was what the leader of the community claimed at the time, or reported on state census records.
Another thing that really is super surprising is you have what's called cedar rust, and cedar rust is a fungus that creates these galls on the cedar trees, and it will kill them off. And the only host of the cedar rust is the apple tree. And so if you have a cedar tree within 2 miles of an apple tree, generally the apple will exhibit some type of cedar rust. So these varieties, since they've been coexisting with cedar trees for so long, that if they've grown from a seedling and they've basically mutated to be able to grow and essentially cohabitate with cedar trees, when you have this commingling, this cohabitation that happens, eventually you're going to have a mutation where the mutation essentially favors the survival of either one variety or both. Like the cedar trees may have been the beneficiary of the apples, believe it or not, because the cedar trees may be resistant to apple rust just as much as the apples are resistant to apple rust. Wow. Wow, these are so old. Oh my gosh. This tree is crazy old. Oh my goodness. And there's absolutely like, I mean, this side's dead, this side's grown, it's just coming back, and this spot's dead. It's like absolutely incredible. It's a little taller than a limber twig typically is, though. It starts out, it's got kind of a limber twig-esque pattern here, but it's hard to tell if it's just because there's a lot of overgrowth canopy and they're trying to get away, because sometimes trees will do that where they bend and they curve as a response to find sunlight. So they kind of move away, almost like a seedling gets leggy. Little healthy ones here. They might be more vibrant than some of the ones closer to the trunk. So, okay. I'll give you one more. One more from this one. As you zip it shut, sorry. This is a very happy apple tree. It's producing lots of new growth. Sometimes they're green, sometimes they're red. But what you look for is you look for that new growth. There's a bunch up there, but I don't want to climb the tree because it's so old. I don't want to like really hurt it or damage it. But if you were to be able to get up, like all that new growth up there, it's all just straight little sticks. And Hannah, this is crazy. Look at this one. This one right here, this tree might be the oldest of the trees we've seen so far. This one right here, we're talking at least 170 years old. This thing is absolutely, I mean, this thing is massive, massive, massive. I thought it was a pear tree because pears have like that plated bark. It's just all of the woodpeckers that have come in here, and it's just absolutely littered with woodpecker holes. Next, we visited the home of a local legend, a German farmer named Fyodor Protar.
After Protar died in the spring of 1925, the local community collected money to build this tomb for him. Protar wanted to be buried at sea in Lake Michigan, more or less, but the state of Michigan did not allow that. So they built this for him and buried him here. This was a spot he would sit in. This was kind of at the far edge of his fields. This was all open field.
Wow.
And there's a boulder behind the tomb that he would come and he would sit, and then there was a trail down the bluff, just about 100 yards that way is the western bluff of Beaver Island, and then Lake Michigan below it. And he had a trail that he would walk down to a natural spring, but he would spend time here and kind of meditate. He wasn't a doctor formally, but he knew enough. He was an educated man when he came here to the U.S. from Eastern Europe. So he knew enough about medicine, and he had a close friend in Chicago who was his age named Dr. Carl Bernardi. And Dr. Bernardi would visit Protar here on Beaver Island every summer and would bring books and supplies and things like that. So he coached Protar in enough knowledge of medicine to give local people some assistance. So if you wanted to label this batch, it would be ham again.
I'm going to try to organize the other one.
Okay. After spending about 45 minutes visiting Protar's home and collecting apple samples, we met up with another local legend, Bud Martin.
You bring all the fuel onto the island, is that right?
Yeah. I have a fuel barge that we had to have built. I might as well just go by there for 5 minutes if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
So all the oil, all the gas on the island comes through you?
Yes, for right now, yes.
Wow.
But then the ferry boat that goes back and forth, if we have to, we can put, what we do is we put our trucks on it. But it's usually everything right here right now. And you know, the island doesn't go through a lot either.
Our mission is to get 50 apple cuttings by 5 o'clock, and then we're gonna take them home and graft them up, and we're using it as basically as a time capsule, but also as like a history project. For we have a preservation orchard that preserves apple varieties, and so the more apple cuttings we've got, the happier I am.
Okay. So, can you tell them which one of these is a little further? Which one?
As the boys gathered around to talk about Beaver Island lore, I got to cutting, because I knew that if I was going to get 50 apple cuttings by the end of the day, I had to hurry.
You know, right where you turn on slap down, and yesterday you showed you along the road.
Yeah.
All of the where some of these taste
Great
good.
job. Yeah, look at this, Cindy. I missed the forest for the trees there. Look at that. Yeah, I'm fine. Did you get that?
Hold on. I got it.
No, she didn't.
Holy smokes! I was looking up, and all of a sudden my feet just kept falling. My feet didn't. You can touch my butt. I won't. Yeah, if they were your own, what you do is you come in here, you chop it down at like 6.5 feet.
Yep.
And then it would produce a bunch new side growth just like this, these whips.
Oh, okay.
It'd be gorgeous.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you could select which ones you want to bear
right.
fruit.
Wow.
At this point, it was 4 in the afternoon, and since our plane left at 5, we decided to make a dash back to the airport. And on the way back, we decided to stop by an old homestead owned by a gentleman named Pete the Swede. There's 2 apples up here I definitely want to cut. They're old, super old. We can get out? Yeah.
This family had a fire, so he donated all of his logs he worked so hard on so they could build themselves a home. And he started all over, but right over the foundation of the logs he donated, right over it, where those trees are.
I remember that barn. I thought it was a barn, but it was actually a house, 2-story building standing there. And Pete the Swede used it to keep his horse in. Well, then
The last horse
he
on the
died,
island.
and then a few years later, the barn, of course, had fallen down. But
That's a money shot right there. Look at this. Look at how hollow. This tree is completely rotten out. I'm just hoping I can get a couple cuttings from this tree. Shoot. I can't reach it. Get that one in case. Can't reach those other ones. After visiting Pete the Swede's house, we had just enough time for one more stop. At this point, it was around 4:30, and with 5 o'clock looming, we decided we'd have just enough time to cut a few more apples at what they called the hunting camp. Also, very little new growth on it.
Yeah. Look around at how big the other trees, right? Those trees grew. There used to be nothing but apples here.
Yeah.
And so you can see how much growth has happened
pine trees took right over.
since these were here. And like that tree, look at the trees around it, how tall they are. Oh, there's some apples up there, bud. See them?
Yeah, I've eaten my fair share of rotten apples.
Yeah, bud, it's the initiation.
Yeah.
Have you really?
Oh yeah, you knock those suckers down, they're sweet.
Why?
The rotten apple is calling you, Jeremy.
If you want me.
There you go. Almost. Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Well, one for you, one for me.
So, you can actually eat that?
Yeah, I'll eat it.
First.
I'll eat it.
Tell me what you gonna be able to tell me what it is.
Oh, look at the juice running out of that puppy.
Wow.
It's actually, you might want to get that. You might want to get the other one down, man. It's pretty wicked. It tastes actually really good. I'm not gonna lie. That's actually incredible.
Fermenting.
It's really not bad.
I mean, for so juicy.
I don't disagree. What?
Jeremy.
It's the church wine of cider apples.
Yeah.
It's got that musty.
That's actually, it's so good though.
Yeah, it's like the liquor in the back of Grandma's cabinet that you found.
It's kind of.
Oh, yum.
Anybody else?
Cindy, I want to get that one down for you.
I might be able to get one.
I'm dead serious, Cindy. I'm dead serious. Jeremy, if you could swat that one down.
Got the stick, right?
I'm dead. I am not kidding you. It's so sticky from all the sugars that are concentrated.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Drunk actually. I'm kind of lightweight.
That's actually nuts. Wow, that flavor is so good.
You ready?
Yeah. There you go.
Oh!
Splash.
It hit the ground and splattered.
Well, there's some of it. Just try that one, Jeremy. If you're still alive.
Where you at, bud?
See right there?
Oh, that one exploded when it hit the ground.
Well,
Buddy.
there's still something left. If you're starving, it would look good. I'm serious.
Oh man.
I want these bad boys.
Oh
Are those
man.
apples, Jerry? Those are
Yeah,
apples?
these are different. Look at the. You can get close.
You know
Look
what?
at
I'm gonna take a little.
this is a completely different tree, but it's a little bit more. It might taste a little better.
Yeah.
Or not. Here's like a big raisin.
There you go.
There you go. That's
Cindy.
a good one.
Cheers, Cindy. Cindy.
There's another one.
This is the fun.
Cindy,
Yeah,
Cindy, I need you to. Cindy,
Here.
look at this.
Wait,
You got another one, bud?
That one
Here.
right there.
Actually, the juice coming out is crazy.
It's not terrible.
There's another couple up there. I don't know.
What would you? It's outrageous. The flavor, like,
Okay.
I mean,
It's like a fruit I've never tasted.
imagine if
Interesting.
As our day in Beaver Island came to a close, I couldn't help but to wish that I had just a little more time. Though we only spent about a day on the island, I couldn't help but to feel like I was family. We'd met amazing people, made great friends, and heard awesome stories about the island that very few people will ever get to relive. And though I wish I could have had more time, the time that we had was well spent, and I'm eternally grateful to all the people that showed us around and helped make our day as memorable as it was. And I hope to one day return, maybe try some of the apples on the island, and maybe even, though I thought I would never come back. I can see why this will be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, because I don't think I will ever do that again. Maybe make a part 2. And lastly, I want to thank everyone on Beaver Island for sharing your little slice of heaven. It's really easy to protect and want to hoard things that are so beautiful and so rich. However, everyone that we met us with a smile and a wave. And to those that are watching that have never been to Beaver Island, I would highly encourage you to make the trip. It might not get the love and the fanfare that Mackinac Island gets. However, it is so different and so unique that you'll absolutely want to make several trips back. Oh, and in case you're wondering if we got our 51 apple cuttings, we did. 71 to be exact. So that just about wraps it up at Beaver Island. I want to thank you all so much for coming along on this amazing journey. I want to thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me.
For being out here. And Jeremy coordinated this whole thing. I want to give a huge thank you to Be Well Mead and Cider. You guys doing the work of, putting the legwork to find these trees, to record, their flavor profile, the shape, size, everything is really incredible. And you guys are well, the crazy thing is we're friends. Like, we're friends now. We just met 6 hours ago, which is absolutely nuts. Got the car stuck, fell a couple times. Like, it's just been great. So with that, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to check out Jeremy's Mead and Cider Tasting Room in
Bel Air, Michigan.
And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow bigger.
Grow bigger.
Woo! Yeah. That's a wrap.
Cool. Let's go.